What is up, my friends, and all of you Lovecraft Country fans out there? Of course, you know what I'm about to say. If you watched any of my previous videos on Lovecraft Country, and if you haven't, you should definitely go check them out. We talk about every single episode, and I tell you my predictions and my thoughts on the episode itself. Go check them out. I've covered all past 8 episodes, and I will be covering the finale next week. But as I always say every episode, this is my favorite episode, and today I'm saying it again. Today's episode was my favorite episode. It just keeps getting on better, right? So one of the big things that this episode does cover is the Tulsa Race Massacre, which was a big thing I think should be taught nationwide. It is something that has to be known and put out there. I was luckily, I had a teacher who covered it, and I come to find out that a lot of teachers didn't cover it. So I always am glad I had a teacher who talked to us about everything in history and had us know about things and not just went with the curriculum, because that's how it's got to be. You got to know about all of this. And this is one of the darkest periods in America, definitely, because it is just such a horrific event. So the episode picks up with right after the last episode. Dee's still cursed, and they're like no idea how they're going to bring her back or save her, all of that. But ultimately they come to the conclusion that the only one that they can get help from is Christina, even though she's a fucking bitch. And so they're just like, this is the only way. Christina, of course, being the Christina she is like, I'll do it, but only if Tick promises to come back to Arden with me and do the Immortality Ritual. And he's like, alright, it's my family, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. We find out during a conversation with Christina and Ruby, however, that this is going to cause Tick to die because she needs all of his blood. And so pretty much it's just like, damn, Ruby's just like, don't hurt my sister. But we know Letty's not going to stand for that, right? We also see Hippolyta return as well. And now they have to go back in time to get the Book of Names from Tick's ancestors. And so they're going to go back to the Tulsa Massacre time. What we see happen is they go back to the observatory, which is a multiverse type of portal, and they go back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, right before the Book of Names was burned during the Tulsa Massacre. So we see Tick, Letty, and Montrose do that, and they arrive on the day of the massacre, but they pretty much have to keep a low profile, because if they get anybody riled up or change anything, we don't know what could happen. And we see a lot of restraint be done here, because it's just like, you know what's about to happen, this horrific event, and you want to warn these people who have no idea, and they're just trying to live their lives, that some racist pieces of shit are about to come in and destroy everything they've worked so hard for. And it just, as a viewer yourself, you're just like, damn, you wish that they could do something, right? Michael K. Williams, who does play Montrose on here, my goodness, he just, every single episode, he just brings it 100%. And here he sees so much of his childhood that you just wonder, you know why this man is so broken, everything he's been through. And you kind of get a look and see how Tick himself, even though he resents his father and all of this, how he feels about it and understands why Montrose is the way he is. And it's just it's sad, honestly. It was a very emotional episode, and I'll lie to you if I said I didn't cry by the end of it, because honestly, the trauma and the pain that we see passed down from generation to generation is something that we see in many of our lives. And honestly, there has to be a stop to it at a certain point. And I thought that the show really showed that, how it's passed down from generation to generation. Ultimately, we see Letty split up with Tick as Tick tries to go get Montrose during the episode, because he believes Montrose is out there to try and tell George to be careful about getting shot in Arnhem. But what we actually realize is that he's there to try and stop Thomas from getting shot. Thomas being, I believe, his first love, and he is about to get shot during the massacre, and he's trying to stop it. Tick stops him because he's like, if you do this, you don't know what's going to happen, and it can lead all the way up to me not being born, and so you don't want to do this, right? Ultimately, we find out that Thomas does end up dying as he gets shot, and then we see the gang of racists corner Montrose, the younger Montrose, and start beating on him as George and Dora show up. Of course, George being Uncle George and Dora being Tick's mother. And pretty much Montrose is like, don't worry, somebody's going to come and save him. It's this mysterious stranger. And Tick is like, no one's coming. Did we do something wrong? And that's when they realize it's Tick who actually is the one who saves them. And Tick goes in there and just starts swinging a bat. And you're just there like, let them have it. And it was a glorious moment right there. But it's just like a short period where you're just like excited that he's there to rescue them. But then we see the grander scheme of things going on. We see the Tulsa massacre just happen. We see shops being burned, people getting killed, and it's just a sad, sad episode all over. Letty is in the house with Tick's ancestors, and they're trying to fight off as much as they can. And it ain't happening because Letty knows that they're going to die, but she's just there to collect the Book of Names. She ultimately ends up getting the Book of Names as she explains to, I believe it would be Tick's great-grandmother, what is going on. And she's just like, okay, I do have the Book of Names, and I was told to protect it, and it's going to be protected because you are going to have my great-grandson. And that's pretty much where we're at right there. By the end of it, we see them all come back through the portal. But I want to say that we see a very, very like heartbreaking like monologue be given by Montrose as he sees everything burning. And that's intersected with a very, very Banff moment where Letty is just walking straight through the bombs being thrown and the fires burning and holding the Book of Names. And that's pretty much what happens by the end of it. Hippolyta is trying to keep the portal open as she's been using herself as a literal motherboard. And we see her hair turn blue. And now they've got the Book of Names. So now we're going to see what happens next. Of course, the next episode is the last episode. And we're going to be going to the Immortality Ritual now. It's going to be interesting to see if Ruby is going to sort of switch on Christina, or if she's going to go full on dark side, as she's pretty much okay, it seems, with letting Tick die as long as Letty will be safe. And Tick is pretty much going in there knowing he's going to die because, as he said before, he went into the future and he saw all of this happen already. So I don't know if he's got something up his sleeve that he's going to be doing, or what it is exactly that he's planning. If he's just thinking like, this is it and I have to do it because this means my son's going to grow up and he's going to be fine, or what the case will be, because, you know, it's just going to be interesting. Another thing we also see is that Tick finds out that George may actually be his father, and that's something that's pretty much that we've known from the beginning of the series when we saw George and Montrose have that conversation as well. But I do believe that Tick has something up his sleeve, because if you watch the teaser for the next episode, there's a part in there where Tick says he had one more secret and he hadn't told anybody. So I'm wondering what exactly that secret is, and it might have something to do with something that he had been working on that might be able to save him and everybody else against Christina. I'm also wondering what the relationship between Ruby and Christina really is going to be by the end of it. Is Ruby really going to be like aligned with Christina by like the end of it all, or will there be a change of heart and see like, nah, this witch, she's fucking crazy. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting, right? Let me know your thoughts. What are your predictions below? I will have a full prediction video for the finale, just as I did for The Boys, coming out this week, probably Wednesday. So make sure you tune in for that. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. As I said, I love this episode, just the way it was shot, the monologues, the poems, the speeches, all of that, just beautifully done, executed perfectly as always. And anyways, let me know your thoughts below. So I will be having my The Boys season 3 coming out tomorrow, my Bly Manor video coming out maybe Tuesday, and just a ton of other stuff. So make sure you're subscribed, locked and loaded here on Nerd Round, because that's the only place you come get your pop culture stuff, right? Anyways, make sure you subscribe to me below, turn on the bell for notifications, follow me on Twitter at NerdRound. My TikTok is NerdRound, my Anchor down below as well, and my website at nerdround.com. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.